I went from a broke immigrant kid with $20 to my name to now building a multi-million-dollar content empire by the age of 24. I came to Canada when I was 15 years old, didn't speak English, didn't know anyone, and now I run a content agency that's doing over 7 figures a year. I've generated over 3 billion views for our client. I retired both my parents 6 months ago, but my journey was anything but easy. And I'm not telling you this to brag. I actually don't like sharing this stuff because it can come off the wrong way, but I think this is a story that a lot of young people needed to hear, especially if you're in your late teens or early 20s right now. Feeling lost, feeling behind, feeling like there's no clear path forward. That was me not too long ago. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through everything from how I went from knowing absolutely nobody in a new country to building a real network, the exact moment I knew I had to better myself, the failures that almost broke me, and the strategy shift that changed everything. Let's get into it. To understand how I got here, you need to understand where I started, because I didn't have the advantage that most people think you needed to get here. In 2015, my family moved from Vietnam to Canada. I was 15 years old. I didn't speak any English. And another thing you need to understand about my family situation is that they are incredibly well off in Vietnam. In Vietnam, we were doing well. They had their own business. They had 2 cars. And you know, cars in Asia is like 3 times more expensive than what it is here. They had like 3 apartments that they're renting out and then also have a house. They wouldn't have to worry about money if we stayed in Vietnam. They gave all that up, moved to Canada because they wanted better opportunities for me and my sister. My dad's first job in Canada was washing dishes night shift in a casino. And I remember after the first week, my dad came home at 7 a.m. and he lost like 5 pounds. And in that moment, I told my parents something that I didn't fully understand at the time. I'm going to retire you guys in 10 years. When I first moved to Canada, everything was rough. I couldn't make friends, I couldn't understand anyone. There was a huge language barrier and there was a cultural difference as well. Life just sucked at that moment. So I found an escape, League of Legends. I played that game religiously. Every time after school, I just threw my backpack in the corner and played for hours. Because I got really good, so I started editing my own gameplay montage just for fun. Then I ended up making montages for other League streamers. And I was like, oh wait, I can actually edit other people's videos for money. I started editing like 20-minute long videos for $20 for these random dropshipping gurus. I had no idea what I was doing and I was just trying to make a little bit of money on the side. Then randomly I found this gig on Reddit, some startup founder who had just raised some money. They wanted me to edit some demo video for their product. The startup was called Deal. They're like a payroll company that just got into Y Combinator. I made them a demo video like $100. It took me like an hour. This is completely unrelated, but that company is now a multi-billion-dollar company. If I understood what I was doing back then, if I understood what was going on back then, I could have been a part of that rocket ship. But I didn't. I just took the $100 and I moved on. That was one of the biggest lessons from this whole journey, is that opportunities are everywhere. You just don't recognize them until you have the skill and awareness to see them. After high school, I knew I wanted to do something with videos. I wanted to make videos for a living. I still didn't know how to get there. I did what everyone would do when they're unsure. I went to school. So in 2019, I enrolled in Toronto Film School, and that lasted 4 months before I dropped out. One of the first projects we had to do at the school was called the Meaningful Thing Project, and you're supposed to make a 2-minute long video about something meaningful to you. I made a video about my parents. That video ended up getting the Hall of Fame of the school, so they're still showing that video to students to this day. That's not like a compliment, but to me, that was a warning sign. If I'm the best in a room after being there in just a few weeks, then I'm in the wrong room. Then there's a second wake-up call. My instructor, who's teaching me how to make money as a creative, I found out that he had just graduated from the same school 1 year prior, and he was working a second job at Staple. And that hit me hard. This is the person that's teaching me how to be successful in the creative field, and he's barely in the creative industry himself. I knew then I needed to figure this out on my own. So I dropped out. And honestly, that decision was terrifying. But it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. Now, this is when things got really hard. Because dropping out of school is one thing, actually building something from nothing is a completely separate challenge that I was not ready for. After I dropped out, I emailed every single CEO, production company, marketing agency in Toronto begging for a job. Everyone said no. You don't have enough experience, you've never been on set before. But this one guy, his name is Brian, he runs this agency called Label 428. They did marketing for like big food brands in Canada, like Domino's Pizza, Chat Time, Grace Food. This is some of their client. He was happy to chat, but he said the same thing everyone else was saying. I can't pay you. You don't have any experience. So I made him an offer that he could not refuse. I'll work for you for free for 3 months. I'll edit your videos, I'll run your coffee, I'll shoot your videos, I'll do whatever it takes. In exchange, Just teach me how to write an email, teach me how to negotiate, teach me how to run a business. And he said yes. For 3 months, I worked for free. I learned everything I could about this business. And after working for free for 3 months, I asked him to give me a job. He still said no. And during this whole time, I didn't have a place to live in Toronto. I was hopping from couches to couches. I would shoot free videos for a small local restaurant in exchange for the best item on their menu. That was my payment. I got paid in food. And when I couldn't find a gig, I would just buy like these naan breads packaged from Walmart. I would microwave them, put furikage on it, and that would be my meal. Looking back, that was probably the lowest point of my life. But also, that was when I was learning the most. Every free project, every awkward pitches, every rejection, I was building towards something. I was finally started to get some momentum. I built up a portfolio, have some clients. I was charging like $500 a video. I would bring in like $3,000 to $4,000 a month at this point. I landed a gig with Porsche. I shot one of their events. And I had like $20,000 worth of contract lined up already. Things were looking good. I was set. I feel like I'm on the right path here. And then COVID happened.
Growing concern about a new and rare pneumonia-like virus that has caused at least 2 deaths and has spread from China to other countries in Asia.
For well over a month, streets have been quiet, most shops have been closed, a pause button pressed on normal life.
Every single one of those deals disappeared. The restaurant was closing, the events were canceled. Nobody needed video anymore. So I had to move back home with my parents. I was depressed. After months of just sitting there feeling sorry for myself, I noticed something weird. All these big agencies, they were still making money like nothing ever happened. So I started reaching out again with better email this time because I learned how to write, finding the right person on LinkedIn to reach out instead of just DMing the business Instagram page, and things started to slowly pick up again. But the turning point for me this time, I was still making all these high production food porn video for restaurants, beautiful shots, nice music, very cinematic, and nobody cared. 200 views, 300 views, nobody was watching this stuff. And this was early 2022, TikTok was exploding. So I went to one of my existing clients and I made them a pitch. Look, this TikTok thing is going crazy. How about this? Give me like $2,000. I'll make you 10 videos. If it doesn't work, if it doesn't get any views, I will give you your money back. And I wasn't doing anything revolutionary. I saw a video format that has already went viral for another business. I just copied it exactly for this client. And the first video I ever made for them got 700,000 views. The very next one got 300,000 views. And these two videos got them 9,000 followers overnight. And that was the moment everything clicked. I realized it wasn't about making good video or how beautiful a video can be. It's about making the right video for the platform, and it's about the value that your client is getting from you. And once I had that first case study, I went to every other business and pitched the exact same thing. This is when things really picked up. Hey, I just got 700,000 views to this one client. I can do the same for you. Second client ever, a Japanese restaurant. I grew their account from 0 to 300,000 in 4 months. A third page I started, a Japanese chef page, and this at the time was my most insane case yet. We went from 0 to 1 million followers in 7 months. 1.1 million subs on YouTube, 200,000 on Instagram, over 1 billion total views from just short form content. And at this point I'm thinking, I really got something here. But I was still charging $2,000, $3,000 a month. And I was running around making hundreds of videos for multiple clients. It was exhausting. And the cheaper clients were always the most difficult clients to deal with. So I started firing clients. I'm doubling my prices and half my client left. And that was fine because I'm making the same amount of money with less client because it freed my time up to find better clients that value what I was doing. January 2023, I hit my first $10,000 a month. I immediately moved off my friend's couch and got my own apartment. And that was the moment I knew this was real. The lesson here is simple. At the beginning, when you have nothing, say yes to everything. But once you get to a point, you have to start saying no. Solve richer people problem, they pay better. Because every low paying client is blocking the spot and the time for a higher paying client that you have not found yet. And my next client didn't come from my network or personal outreach. It was late 2023. They found me through ChatGPT. I got an email from a company in Korea. It was Bodak. They're the company that make these super spicy ramen that went absolutely viral a couple years ago. Massive brand. They were Korean, so they asked ChatGPT, what's the best short-form content agency in North America? And ChatGPT gave them 5 options. They went through all 5 websites and they chose us because our website looked the best. We started talking back and forth, and after a month, Bodak became my biggest client yet. We grew the TikTok from 300,000 followers to 1.7 million followers. and 500,000 on Instagram. And because we kept delivering results, they kept giving us more. One client after another. Because we do such good work and impressive result, naturally I started posting about it, and we ended up getting a lot more demand for our service. Bodak led to Stan. Stan is this massive creator platform. I started working with their Toronto team. The first video got 1 million views on TikTok and 5 million views on LinkedIn. John Hu, who's the CEO, is so impressed. He flew me out to LA to start getting more content for his personal brand. For 3 days straight, we talked content, we shot a lot of content, we made a lot of content. And the first month working on his personal brand, we delivered 20 million views. Fast forward a month later, he called me. I just closed Gary Vee as one of my investors. Can you help me with the campaign content? This is such a full circle moment for me because Gary Vee was the person who inspired me to keep going and start this whole journey. Everything about having some humility, work for free, sending out messages even if nobody responds. I literally did everything that Gary Vee told me to do. And now I'm in the same room as Gary Vee, shaking his hand, telling him how much he inspired me. It was unreal. Remember that promise that I made to my parents when I was 15 years old that I was going to retire them in 10 years? 6 months ago, I made it happen. And it wasn't as dramatic as you would have imagined. Mom, I'm going to pay you $5,000 every single month. You don't have to work anymore. And that was it. She was kind of quiet at first, and I don't think she fully processed it at the time. She always told me I'm such a normal human being. Why is my son so exceptional? And I would always tell her, Mom, if you grew up with the same opportunities that I have, the opportunities that you gave me, you would be able to do it too. They sacrificed everything for me to have these opportunities, this chance at life. They gave up their comfortable life in Vietnam. They worked jobs that broke them down physically. They did all of that so I can have this shot. The least I could do is to make sure they would never have to suffer again. And that phone call to my mom, that made everything worth it. So that's my story. From a broke immigrant kid who could barely speak English to becoming the first millionaire in my family and retired both my parents by the age of 24. And if there's one thing that I want you to take away from this video is this. Your starting point doesn't determine where you end. I didn't have connections, I didn't have money, I didn't have a clear path either. All I had was the willingness to work for free, work my ass off, and bet on myself when nobody else would. So if you're watching this and you're in that phase at the moment, you're lost, you're broke, you don't know what's next, keep going. Because I promise you, the skill that you're building right now, even the ones that you don't realize that you're building, they're going to compound in ways you can't even imagine. I'm going to keep documenting this journey. I'm building something even bigger, and I want to take you along for the ride. Now if you want to see exactly how I make videos go viral, the actual framework that I use to get 3 billion views for my client, I'm breaking everything down in my next video. Subscribe so you don't miss it.